podcasters, they'll find 10 to 20 podcasting groups, and then they're posting their episodes there. It's like going to a doctor's convention looking for a patient. Everybody wants a listener. Nobody wants to be listening. So it's the wrong place to be.
This is Roy Coughlan, host of 6 podcasts currently in the top 5 worldwide. He's a podcast coach and father of Podfather, an online community for podcasters to help them launch, grow, and monetize their show. During our conversation, we talked about why your podcast should not start with a music intro, how his podcast helps him grow both his online community and his coaching program, what works far better than promoting your podcast on every social platform possible, and so much more. Let's get into it.
I've always wanted to do something on exposing fraud and corruption, but I said I'm going to be attacked on that. And I went through a journey where I kind of overcame shyness, got into Toastmasters, and then got very good, became a distinguished Toastmaster within, 3 years, entered competitions, got into the final of 5 years, and 5 countries, And during that period, I went to an event, and a guy outside of the event was actually saying, hey, I can teach you how to do podcasting. And there was over 100 people turned up, and I went, ooh, this is good. And I said, okay, I can do a podcast, but I'll start with the speaking because I learned the trade before I go into the other one. So the very first one that I did was the speaking podcast because I knew a load of people from Toastmasters and also from the speaking competition. So I said, okay, plenty of people that I can interview. And then and that was 8 years ago. And kind of went to meditation next, and then kind of learned Polish, I believe was the next. Then I did the Awakening, which was the one. I did the crypto, and then the Podfather. And you'll be happy to know that I'm actually working on another one. I have the Sovereign Man one, and there's a few other kind of ones as well. So I'd say I'll be up to 10 by the end of this month.
10?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow. I'd love to talk about all of them, obviously. But obviously there is one I'm really focused on. It's Podfather, because that's the podcast that is for podcasters. So that's the one that I'm the most interested in, and that the audience as well is the most interested in. And so I'm curious to know where this idea came from of having a podcast for podcasters. Like, you were a coach, you helped people before. How this one came to be?
So I am a coach helping people start and existing, but how it came about is I also help people do podcast tours. And one client, I got him on in the end of about 250, but after about 100, he says, wow, you're the Podfather. And it just kind of went, I love that. And I just created out that. And the first few episodes were kind of just a few minutes. I talk about maybe the green screen. I talk about QR codes. And eventually, I was never planned to do interviews, but it kind of evolved into it. And then I said, I'll do quick interviews, or I set up a kind of form I'd write out to people. I said, send me your tips so I can just post it. And of all the people I wrote to, 2 sent me tips without wanting an interview. And of the 2, one did ask later, hey, can I have an interview as well? And some of them are for an hour. But the beauty is every single person is bringing in something to the table. And it's allowing me to up my game. So if people are kind of listening and applying it, because that's the thing, everyone is kind of going, what's the secret sauce? Because like of the 6, they've all been in the top 5%, 4 got to the top 0.5%. They fluctuate up and down a bit, and people kind of reach out and they're thinking, I'm going to say one specific thing, and that's the golden dust that will make your show, go to the moon. And the thing is, it's a combination of things. And try to systemize yourself, but not overwhelm yourself. And that's the actual secret. And like prior to recording, I said to you, your pre-call was the most professional I've ever seen. I've done a lot. And you're actually having a good interview because you're spending the time to kind of understand the person, see what we can discuss. A lot of people don't. There's times, I don't do pre-calls, but what I do is I do a lot of research, and I'm preparing, and I'm going through their channels, and I like if they're on, say, Podmatch, I can go through that. But I prefer going elsewhere because I don't want every single interview to be the same. And when you've got a good interview, that's one of the main things, because people come back or they'll share it with someone. Whereas sometimes people, they're just winging it and they put a marketing budget and they can get the numbers, but people come in and go off. So they're constantly having to do that. They're constantly have to put big bucks behind the marketing. So the most important thing is have a good conversation, good sound system. We both have, good mics. If you're listening on earphones, people will know. If it's, I go back to earlier episodes and I kind of cringe, I, and that happens and you kind of evolve as you go, but there's 20, 30 different things that you can be doing just to improve the show. And I think the most important thing is to enjoy the journey and be passionate about what you're doing, because you will hear a lot of people saying, oh, there's 4 million podcasts and all this, but there's not. That's something. There's over 4 million that have been created, but some have done 3 episodes. Some have done 10. I know a lot of people, they've done it. And even there's been times I come across, I'll do something where I'll have some business and I say, I'll reach out to the people that have podcasts. Or even if I have guests, I go through my book, because I don't dump anything. I have a book on every time I interview someone. I make all the notes. And the amount of times that the show is no longer there. And I'm like, wow, I never thought they'd stop. So when I'm talking to people, I say, commit to a year. When you commit to a year, I think you'll just get passionate about it. You'll enjoy the conversations. You'll start learning. I've had people on about health, different things. Like I've learned a lot about sovereignty based on conversations I've had. And then I go in, I kind of delve deeper because of just the conversation. So my life has improved because of that. And what I say to people as well is, if you've got a skill set, or you're don't be complaining about the world. If you have something that you can actually share that makes the world a better place, create a podcast and do it. And then you can touch. You don't have to be touching a million. If you touch one life, it's worth doing it. Because if you can actually make somebody change their mind about how their life is going, there's a ripple effect in that household, and it'll be more and more. They might never reach back. You might never know. But when you know you're doing the right thing and you're doing positivity, that in itself, it becomes more mission driven as opposed to ego driven.
Yeah. I have so many questions about what you just said. But I think that the main one is, I'm kind of obsessed with being listened from the right people, having the right people listening to the podcast. And so what's your approach on this? How do you, regardless of who the guest is, how do you make sure, even, I don't know if it's your guest or your structure, but how do you make sure that it will be useful to the podcaster who's listening to the podcast?
So there's a few things on that. It's kind of where you're marketing it to the right place. But even, like, say I mentioned about the Toastmasters. So if you were in a Toastmaster room and there's 20 people there, you were delighted to speak in front of 20 people. And if you come back next week and they're still there, maybe 2 leave and another come. But people see 20 on their podcast and they think it's a failure because they're comparing themselves with Mr. Beast and Joe Rogan and all these top guys. If 20 people are listening to it, that's 20 people sitting on a seat. And sometimes then it goes up to 50 or 100 or, but just look at it as like they're actually respecting you with their time coming in and regarding finding the right audience. So that's kind of like a marketing thing. Because what happens usually is with podcasters, they'll go into, say, Facebook and they'll find 10 to 20 podcasting groups. And then they're posting their episodes there. And I say it's like going to a doctor's convention looking for a patient. Everybody wants a listener. Nobody wants to be listening. So it's the wrong place to be. You can learn some tips sometimes, because sometimes people are sharing stuff and they go, hey, I've just figured out this. It's okay for being in groups like that. But for example, the Polish podcast, I'm in 48 groups. I'm in foreigners in Warsaw, foreigners in Poland, Polish in the UK, Polish in Ireland, Polish in Chicago. So when I post an episode, it's going to the people. So sometimes a Polish person moves to Norway or different places and they end up with a local and they want them to learn the language. So they might even be in it themselves and they'll go, oh, you need to check out this. Or they want their kids to learn when they're coming to see the grandparents. So that's the right group. Same with the crypto. Any of the ones they've got, I post them in the groups that are relevant. And I look at all different kind of social media, because I think what happens is people, they try to be on 10 different things. You've Blue Sky, you've X, you've Instagram, LinkedIn and all that. And I found at the start, Instagram wasn't working for me, but I've seen other podcasters, Instagram is their best one. What you do is find what works for you and start understanding it. Because, like, I'll ask you now specifically, right? You might be on, say, TikTok, or you might be on different things. You might have scrolled through shorts on YouTube. You might have seen some brilliant stuff. How many of them did you give a thumbs up?
Not so much.
Exactly. And I'm the exact same, right? And I've been conscious of that because there's times people think, nobody likes my content. When they'll comment if they don't like it because they just feel like, but don't kind of feel that it's not getting there when people aren't giving a thumbs up. But the thing is as well, when you decide that you want to concentrate on one platform, start doing that. Start giving the thumbs up to the things you like. Because even on, say, TikTok, if you like someone's comment, they come in and see your stuff. Sometimes people are grateful that you've just given them a nice comment or a thumbs up, and then they start following you. So then they start seeing your stuff, and engagement, and also the platforms reward people. So with YouTube, my youngest child, he was into magic a few years ago, and I had my YouTube, my Gmail on the television. So when he was watching YouTube, it was my account. And what I saw is the guy that was teaching the magic was saying, hey, be sure to give me a thumbs up. And I could see my child reaching for it. My subscribers went way up. And I was like, okay, so they're rewarding me for having engagement. And and most platforms are like that. And the other thing is, when people are posting their episode, sometimes you create a short. Facebook, LinkedIn, all of these platforms do not want you to leave that platform. So when you put a post up with, hey, you find the full episode here, they're going, no, we don't want to show people that because they'll only leave. But what we do is we create, like all my shorts, I have my website inside the short. Sometimes for some of our clients, we have like a QR code. I prefer not the QR code because I think there's a high percentage of people look at content on their phone. So you can't really scan a QR code when you're on it. Like if it's on the TV or if it's on a laptop or something, that's no problem. But so I just have the website, so no matter where they are. But that's the thing as well, because people, they're posting and they're saying, I'm getting no engagement. And you just have to kind of start thinking ahead of how they're doing it. A lot of people were putting it in the show notes, in a comment, find the episode here. They became aware of that. I think someone said recently, LinkedIn, that still works, but you're better off kind of not doing it that way, so that when you are posting something, people can see it from the post. So if it's getting, whether it's 1 or 2 minutes, people go, I like that. They don't have to be kind of going into your profile, finding a link, because people are lazy. Make it easy. Have the website just there. And even if you have a long website, create something short and simple and just divert it to your longer website. Just keep everything as easy and simple. And when you start doing that, then the numbers will come. And I track everything. I have an Excel for everything I'm doing. I'm on BitChute, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Rumble. And I'm watching the averages, and they're constantly going up. And sometimes I go, hey, what's happening here? And I didn't post it, or the team, I didn't create something. And I'm just keeping track of everything. And that way then it grows. So I think if you make it like a project, don't overwhelm yourself. Say, okay, 30 minutes in the morning is my social media window for engaging. That's enough. You don't want to be on this thing, 24/7, because that takes the love out of it. But if you set aside a bit of time for tracking your numbers and a little posting, the compound effect will start giving you results.
I'm curious about this. What metrics do you track?
I track the episodes that are out, so the number, and the total downloads, so that gives me the average. And the same for all the different things. I track the shorts as well. I track the shorts on the different places, even the TikTok, because you can go into the analytics with TikTok, but it only gives you for a certain amount, and you can't trust them. They're not accurate. Because what I do is, like, I got kicked off TikTok recently, just last Sunday. They don't like the stuff I'm posting, and I don't post fake stuff. It's like, I was talking about like 15-minute cities and tracking in car. Yeah, they removed that. They don't like that, but I know it's 100% true. But besides the fact, I can go in and look at the analytics and it tells me how many, and it's never what is truth. So what I do is, if I post, say, 30 shorts, that's the way I was doing it, 'cause I just total that up and then just put that into my total statistics for that. And I know, like, I had on TikTok, I had over 2 million views on my TikTok channels. And so you're able to see, okay, Instagram, I kind of look and I go, all right, I'm getting one follower maybe a week or something like that. And it's like, I'm looking at where I'm getting more followers. So now I'm spending time on YouTube. I'm looking at different things and I'm getting between 1% and 2% increase on my subscribers weekly. And that's kind of my target because at the end of the year, that makes a difference. Don't be trying to get, like 10,000 just overnight, or don't be buying them from, there's people go, I can get you 1,000 views or I can get you 10,000. Don't ever do that. You'll destroy your channel because they're using bots. And what happens is there's even channels, Famity or something like that. They'll tell you, okay, we can get you so many followers, we can get you this. And yeah, you get it and you see it. And then it just starts disappearing. They're not real. So you're just paying for kind of show. And it's like, oh, look. Like I see loads of times people come along. They go, oh, I've got 100,000 Instagram followers. I got this. I know straight away that they bought them because I can see the engagement. I've often seen a guy, he had over just 200, 250. He had more engagement than somebody that had 100,000 because he had real followers. And it's better to do it organically, slowly, instead of trying to fake it, thinking that, okay, if I pay for 10,000, then I'll get a load of people because they'll see I've got 10,000. And that's not how it works. Because all these platforms, they know. I mean, they've all AI checking this stuff. They know it's not real. So it's like, don't be wasting your money, your energy, and you'll actually hurt your channel. Because I did it years ago on a YouTube. I paid somebody thinking that they were giving me legitimate followers, and it never grew after that. And I just stopped using that one. So don't make that mistake.
Yeah, it is true. You're paying for the number really, but you're not paying. You're not paying for having followers. You're just paying for having this number, like the 1,000, 10,000 followers, and you see it afterward because you still get 2 or 3 likes on every post, and so yeah, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's a scam really. Like you pay for just having fake social proof, but it doesn't help the business, doesn't help the content as well. So yeah. By the way, if you don't see your podcast contribute enough to your business, I'm gonna share at the end of this conversation how my podcast generate leads for my business. So stay until the end for that. I want to go back a little to, because you mentioned that the way I approach my pre-interview, that's something that you really appreciated. We also talked about the fact that people want results way too soon with podcasts. And so I'm curious to know, because as you help podcasters as well, what are the mistakes that usually podcasters, they don't see or they don't realize that they're making some huge mistakes with their show?
I mean, some are things we've talked already, they wing it, or they're just, they're not really checking even, because it's happened me before where the microphone might kick into the camera, because especially if you're changing platforms. I know we're on Riverside. I could be on StreamYard. I could be on Zoom. I use a lot. And sometimes the settings just change. You could have everything perfect. I always do a test. I'm going in doing a test on the sound to make sure that it's okay. And some people don't do it. And that's one of the mistakes. The other thing is, if you can be consistent putting it out. So a lot of times people, they might do 3 in a week and then they mightn't do any for 2 weeks or something like that. That hurts you. I made a mistake, I don't know, was it in my second year or something like that with the speaking. I took a bit of time off thinking, yeah, I'll have a bit of a break, and it just kind of extended as life, you just decide to, I'll get back to it when I do. And yeah, I lost a lot of the listeners because I didn't let them know what I was doing. And I see a lot of people making that mistake, and I tell them it's okay to have a season podcast. It's okay to go on holidays. You can even schedule it and have them done. But even if you don't, if you're doing lives and things like that, depending on this, is just let them know, hey, I'm off now for month of December or whatever it is. I'll be back. And when you do it that way, then they know that you're not gone. Because unless you told somebody and they're listening to you every week, and then all of a sudden you're no longer there, they're looking at their phone and running out of memory. Oh, that's probably gone. Let's delete that. They're not going to come back and check again. So always let your listeners know what you're doing. And what I find, I suppose, with a lot of people is there's times they spend a load of time preparing. They'll edit. There's times people are spending 8 hours to edit, and it's like I did that at the start. Not 8 maybe, but a lot of hours editing. No, they go out as they are unless something happens. And people think, oh, if I reduce the pauses or if I reduce the ahs and the ums, it's going to make a massive difference. The reality is, if you're out in the street, that's the way people talk. And people can connect to that. So I think indirectly, subconsciously, you're not really connecting them when you're making it compressed, thinking you're helping them. So I tell people, do it as it is if you can, because one, it's less work and you're more inclined to keep doing it. And I suppose the biggest mistake I see people doing is they don't market it. They might just create it, they just post to X, LinkedIn, YouTube on their own channels, and then they're back into it. You have to keep doing it. Do it at different times. So I put my stuff on Rumble and BitChute and just post it at different times. Like sometimes people think I post it once, I'll be annoying people. If you've got, say, 3,000 people that's connected with you on Facebook, they're not seeing that. You'll be lucky if 100 people see it or 200. And then if there's engagement, they'll show it to more. So then if you start posting it at different times, and sometimes I post different graphics, grab their attention. So that's something that I kind of learned earlier. I interviewed a guy from Cragmaga, and it was my earlier episode. So he came to my house and we'd done the recording. And I told him I had the tripod to take the picture. I said, choke me. And he's like, what? And I said, there's no point in us just standing next to each other for a picture. We want to grab attention. And I said, choke me. And it took off because people were like, what's going on here? So even with my forums, I asked people, send me a picture. Unless it's something serious. I don't want funny then because, you have to keep it serious. But there's times something crazy and funny gets more downloads. And you can put that out. And it's because it's all about grabbing attention. Same with thumbnails. People are just scrolling. You have to grab their attention. And because there's times I used to always put for years the guest picture because I was thinking, okay, I'm respecting guest, putting this picture up and everything. And it's like, nobody knows who that person is. So you're better off having a graphic that's explaining or something that grabs their attention with color and stuff. Sometimes you can have both pictures of the host and the guest and just have it. But a lot of times people, they have the exact same graphic all the time. And what that does is people then just become bored or they see it, they just assume it's the same thing. So you have to look at it as if what's grabbing your attention. So when you're looking at TikTok and YouTube and any social media, why did I click on that? And start kind of making marketing a kind of homework for yourself. Like if I'm looking on Netflix, why am I, what about that graphic that grabbed my attention? Oh, the colours. Start using them colours. Play around with things like that.
Yeah, I see this a lot. It's something that I check a lot, especially on YouTube, because I've created this account where I just subscribe to podcasts just to see their thumbnails, and a lot of thumbnails look like Diary of a CEO or stuff like that. They all look the same. Sometimes it's the same colors, the same fonts. And there is one podcast actually that always stands out when I see all the thumbnails is what's his name? I forgot his name. Lenny's podcast, because it has this bright orange background, and always stands out because all the others have a thumbnail that is just black background. So you have black background and just one orange, and it works every time. So sometimes I think you just have to, just have a look, as you said, at what grabs your attention, and you'll see some patterns that you can use for your own podcast. So I'm fully aligned with you on this. There's something that is very painful, I think, for many podcasters, is just growing in the first place, because as I said earlier, for example, for my case, I want to make sure that I have the right listeners. But the question is, how do I even get a bit more listeners every single time? Because the idea is not to get a million podcast hosts. I don't think there is a million podcast hosts that fit my ideal listener that I have in mind. But how can I grow steadily, step by step, to reach the right people? You mentioned distribution, but how does it work? How do you pick, for example, the platforms or stuff like that? How do you make that happen, basically?
It's you just have to kind of maybe study the competition as well, see what others are doing, see which successful ones are, see where they are, and you can actually learn a lot. And with AI, you can say, hey, look at this, tell me what they're doing, how I can actually improve on that. And most people won't do that. And the thing with AI is, you have to, if you ask it a really detailed question, it will give you the answer, but then you have to go through it in detail because it makes mistakes and then correct it. So you're putting maybe 20% of your own effort into it. You can learn a lot from that on what. And another thing to do is look at the analytics. Like, I would go in and I go, oh, there was a drop off. So I stopped having intro music. I said, I'm the same. I just fast forward it. And loads of people have intro music and it sounds good. But if I'm a regular listener, unless it's something that's like really cool music that kind of gets me like, getting grooves and you feel good from it, like usually it's not. And it's kind of, and here's your host, and they go through 5 minutes of stuff. So people just kind of fast forward. And I could see that, so I took it out. Like with the Polish one, I had a beatboxer. He was in Toastmasters. He was 16. And you have to be 18 to join, but he joined under his dad. And I was just, impressed with the way he's doing things. But he got into beatboxing, and I put his beatbox on my Polish podcast. And I thought nothing of it. And after a couple of years, I said, I'll remove this. I think, I don't need. And I had about 20 people commenting, thanks for getting rid of that. It was cringeworthy. It was like, and nobody had said it before. And even now, I get 1-star ratings. I would have given you 5, but that beatbox annoys me. And it's gone, but they're listening to earlier episodes. So sometimes where people are looking at podcasts and they're going, oh, that must be the way to do it. But if you look at Dave Rogan, Patrick Bet-David, they're one of the top ones. They just go, off you go. They just straight away, they're just going into the conversation. There's none of that. And with the analytics, I was able to see, this is getting full attention. Irrespective of the numbers, this one drops. So, for example, I had a guy and he was talking about bars for bugs. And when I met him, I thought, this guy has either just got out of bed or he's about to go into bed. I just felt his energy wasn't there. He was just kind of like, too, thinking, this doesn't really matter to me. And I didn't want to put it out. I just thought, I knew it wasn't a good interview. But I thought, okay, bugs are kind of, people are totally against it or they're for it, making bars from bugs. It went down to 8%. And I've never had it. I've had times there'd be 100% going across. This went way down and I've realised that if I don't feel that somebody didn't bring their A game, respect your listeners. Don't be putting out just because you've had an interview. It's like if they're pitching. And I've had another guy, he came on and every question he was like telling me of his website and how he can do this. And I was like, so I didn't put it out. He didn't even know I didn't put it out. I just thought, this was a pitch fest. But the other thing is, I could see people were really interested in kind of common law and sovereignty. And from that then, I started bringing on more guests. So now I have a monthly guest that comes on just on that. And I'm serving what the listeners like. So you can learn a lot from your analytics. Whereas a lot of times you talk to people, they're not even looking at that. So same with the thumbnails of your YouTube channel. You go, what did I do here? Why does this 10x the other one? So what I've learned with my YouTube, my best is like on the Polish, it got way better. I got nearly 14,000 subscribers, 1.5, 1.6 million views. But the other one, I've all my channels, the 5 other podcasts in it. And I could see the ones that 20,000, 10,000, 5,000, they were all common law and sovereignty. So even you might be totally into something else. Make sure that you're looking at, my listeners like this, and give them more of it. Whereas sometimes people, they're not even looking at that. So if you check your analytics, you'll go, wow, they love health, whatever it is. Let's make sure that I do at least one a month or maybe even more that serve the listeners, which in turn they'll stay and perhaps share it. And doing things like that will help your numbers as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I spend so much time on the retention graphs on YouTube just to see, well, what's the drop off, because there's always a drop off somewhere. And it's true that there is a lot of podcasts. There is an intro music like "Welcome to the podcast." There's a music you have to wait. And me as a listener, it's really simple. You either have an intro that grab my attention, or you just get straight into it. For example, what's his name? Chris Williamson. No intro, no trailer whatsoever. You press play and the conversation starts right away. There are others that have intros that work well as well. But to me, it's always you either have an intro that tells something that wants me to stay, or you just get into it. But yeah, I agree with you. Like the intro music, it just make people wait, and for no reason. So there's something that there's some. I mean, the more you talk about this, and the more I realize that podcasting, the way I see it, is really a lonely place. Like, still you have guests, so you talk with people every time, but growing the podcast, you have questions, you don't know how to make it happen. It's a very lonely place, I think, and that's what I found really great about your community. But I'm curious to know, how does it work for a podcaster? Like, what the people who are in your community, what are they looking for? What kind of help do they get? How does it work?
You mean the school community, is it?
Yeah, the school community. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I've done is I'm conscious that with coaching, not everyone's able to pay, because I'm charging like $3,000 to one-on-one coaching, or existing I'm charging $2,000, and I'm conscious not everyone can afford that, but want to do it. So I created this that it's like just $27 a month. And what I do is I have a course that I professionally recorded that's in there. I put in all my podcasts as well. I've done interviews on speaking as well, because what I found is there's a lot of people, they want to do a podcast, but they're shy or they're afraid to do a video. So I've covered, like I've done a specific one with David Goldberg. That's like, this guy has 5 studios. He has like interviewed really top people. He's incredible experience. And between the two of us, like each recording is about an hour and a half. I have that in there. I do a Q&A weekly. So people can either write in the community what their question is, because something comes up, you just go, how do I do this or whatever, and if I can answer it, I can write and answer it. But if not, I'll cover it on the weekly call. Sometimes people turn up, sometimes don't. It's a small group at the moment. But I'm glad, because there's a good community and there's good engagement. And I think that if it got too big at the start, I wouldn't be able to do it. And then now I watch like the school news, and I'm learning about what's working and what's not. And sometimes letting in the wrong people as well can they start direct messaging because they're trying to sell something like a multi-level marketing or something like that. And it's like, I'm checking to make sure, and you just don't accept people. You'll know by looking at their profile whether they're genuine or not. And it's like, there's loads of things. I've got, sometimes people, they want to know which platform to host on. I've got an Excel sheet of, I think I've 36, 37, something like that. And I've like the pros and cons, and I've got all the different things for that. I'm constantly adding stuff to it, that it's in my interest that people get better, but also they're sharing stuff as well. So I've had one guy on, and he's getting thousands of LinkedIn views, and he explained exactly how's that happening. So that's my purpose. It's not just Roy that's going, hey, I know everything, because I don't. I'm constantly learning. And like I had an interview just the other day. I started playing around with YouTube, using the promotion on YouTube, because I said, okay, this is good because it's going directly to what I want. And I started playing with just getting subscribers or going to a website. And I was able to get it down to about 10 cent, euro or dollars, they're fairly similar, per subscriber. And I had an interview with a guy, and he's doing the same thing. He's got like 12,000 subscribers. He said at times he can get it down to 2 cent. And I was like, oh, so that gives me room for improvement and just learning. So like, that's what I want. The beauty of a community in the school thing is there's no ads. There's no it's just, there's no fluff. It's just, you're there for podcasting and to help each other and different tricks. So I'm posting stuff when a new video comes out. I'm just mentioning it in it and you see it. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with School, but you can go in and you can hit the box. So if for example, listening to the episodes, you just hit the box and then it shows the progress. And then there's a leaderboard, so you can kind of gamify it as well. You can have you could do, say, give someone free coaching if you wanted, if they were, top of the leaderboard at the end of the month. And there's also a map. So people can go, oh, he's in the States. He's only, a couple of blocks away from me. So people can meet up as well from that. So, like, I'm planning now on kind of putting a marketing budget behind it and start growing it. But I thought at the start there'd be a load coming running for it. But I studied school, made a load of notes, and I'm kind of going, oh, this is good that I've done it this way, because now I know who's actually kind of engaging. And when a group gets a certain size, you need people that will kind of be watching it as well to make sure, so you can then make people admin. So if you saw somebody that's kind of spamming or doing anything, that you can block it. It's not just me. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it, and that's my kind of plan, to keep growing that and keep adding stuff to it.
That's great. That's really great. I'll put the link in the show notes so people can have a direct link for this, because I think podcasting, there's a lot to do. I posted something yesterday about the tools that I use, and I realized that I do a lot of stuff between the pre-production, hosting the podcast, editing, the thumbnails, the titles. And so there are so many stuff that we do that we don't necessarily have the answers to. And so I think having a community like yours is it's really, really great. So I will definitely put the link in the show notes so people can have access to it. And that leads me to another question, because your podcast, Podfather, to me is the direct link to this cool community. Do you, like, during the episode or in the show notes, do you mention it, or do you do something else to promote the community? How does it work?
Sometimes I do, and that's the thing of kind of how I've evolved as well. So, I did have intro music and stuff like that years ago. And then because I have a green screen. So what I have is, you don't see it on this now, but I kind of have, like, I call it, it's like a hybrid. I have my bookshelf that's real, and then the green screen is behind me, and I have kind of like my marketing. So I show a QR code, and I've got my 6 podcasts, and then I have another brain upgrade thing on it. And you say, find me here, bum bum bum. My school group is the. But then I've kind of realized that I'm losing people at that, because if someone is coming in, they don't want to be hearing, hey, I've got this and look at this. So now I kind of go talk about the guest, and I go into it about what we're going to discuss, just to grab their attention. And if I get during the thing, I might bring it up and mention it. But the way I see it is, just say you didn't know me and you listen to a conversation. And even if I didn't say anything, but you see the QR code and you see my website, and you go, he knows what he's talking about, you'll be able to find me. And at the end, I do say, look, you'll find me here, because I ask the guests where they can find them. And then they'll say it, and I'll say, look, the notes, it'll be in the show notes, blah, blah, blah. And then I say, you find everything about me, scan the QR code or go to myname.com. And then if you're looking for a virtual assistant, and that's the way I do it, because I think that, and there's a load that I was doing the promo at the start, I think I've lost them. And even now, I look at people and they're doing where they're getting the key points, and they're putting an interactive video for about a minute or 2 minutes. That's time consuming, but it's actually well worth it, because in society, people, it's like grab their attention. And if you show them, hey, this is what they was discussed, this, and you have something, all pictures relating to that, you have them. And then if they think, okay, this is for me, then they can listen. Whereas it's a pain that we have to do that. But the people that I see, like the guy that actually taught me how to start podcasting, he was less than a year at the time. And his YouTube is like, I was looking at it the other day, it was like 28 million views. And yeah, he's like unbelievable, the amount of things. So you just have to keep learning as well and watching and kind of having a circle. Because with podcasting, what I find is we're not the kind of group that kind of holds our cards together. Everyone is sharing. I mean, I've had situations where loads of people be reaching out and they're then just grabbing, and then you just turn off the tap to that. But usually when something new comes out, people are ringing me or writing to me, hey, you gotta check this, because I've always been kind of always trying to help people and raise them up. And because of that, they're letting me know of something new. And then you're kind of like able to get ahead of the curve because you become aware of something new that can benefit, say, podcasters before it becomes well known.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm curious. You have 6 podcasts, soon 10. You talked about doing the research. You talked about tracking the data. Do you do everything alone, or there is a team, a system? How does it work? Because it seems a lot. For me, one podcast, as I said, is a lot. You have 6 times more work, soon 10. And so I'm curious to know, how does it work?
So I've edited every single podcast myself. I make the show notes. I upload it to YouTube, and then I have a VA business. So they take it with click grab. They can get the content, but they have all the show notes. They create the shorts, and then they post it on all the different places. But they also give it onto the shared drive that we've got. So if I want to put it on TikTok, because you can't outsource TikTok, like TikTok is kind of connected to your phone. So then I was that's why I was able to do 30 posts, because I don't know, is it when you get to so many followers, you're able to do that. Before that, you have to do them individually, but it is what it is. And that's how I do it. I systemize it. And even though somebody in the group today wrote, and it's something I'm looking at, it's not that I actually enjoy listening to the interview again, because like when we're engaged in a conversation, we're totally present. But when you listen again, then you're you can make notes and you can go, oh, so I'm editing. I usually edit it at twice the speed, but I have to stop at times then to write, okay, at 3 minutes, this question, because I'm writing down what we discussed. And I'm looking at trying to get the AI to give me the timestamps, but it'll be good, because I played with it and it wasn't great, but I think AI is getting better. That way, I can just have it and then just leave it in if I think. I'll be listening, but I won't be pausing it, and I should be able to do things a lot faster. And I'm constantly looking at things like that. How can I make it better? How can I do it? Like, for example, there's times I'll do an interview and I go, okay, this is relevant to a few podcasts. This time, say, a crypto one, but they're talking about financial stuff. I go, oh, this will suit the awakening and the speaking maybe. So I can put that out. So that's one interview that goes out in 3 podcasts. And say if I do the Polish, usually I'll record them in batches, two or 3. And then I'm using audio Adobe for enhancing the sound. And then converting it using online converter to make it MP3, because some of the platforms you put it up on MP3 instead of video. And I just kind of systemize it like that. And then when I'm posting it, I'm editing it, and then I'm cut, title, posted on BitChute, YouTube, and Rumble, and the podcast platform that I'm after doing it on. And the show notes the same, and then press. So it's not that I decide, okay, I post it, I'll do this an hour later. It's like systemize, do it all, and then, yeah, and the fact that the team then are kind of posting the shorts, that helps me a bit. I mean, I know I used to be doing things like that myself, but so if you've somebody that can kind of do that for you, you'll see the numbers. Like last month now, combined, for February, I had 510,000 between shorts and videos and everything. Like, that's 500,000. So, I mean, that's the best that I've had, but it's constantly increasing. And, that's what I do. I just go, okay, each month. So I have a kind of color system. So I use Excel. I use a Google Sheet Excel. And I have, if it's 0.5%, it's yellow. If it's 1%, it's green. And if it's 2%, it's purple. And sometimes it's way more than that, but I don't have it. And I try to get as many purples as I can. And it's kind of like I've gamified it. And I'm just going in the morning, I'm just checking the things now. And then I go, wow, how come I got so many followers there? And by just tracking it like that, I'm able to kind of crack the code on something. There's times that a video on, say, Facebook can get 60, 70 comments. And I'm like, hey. and thinking, and then the next one, yay, and then it goes back to 2. And so, there's times you're trying to figure it out, but by just looking at it and watching it, the same with the YouTube, you just, like, I'd say put all your energy into one first. Master that, understand it. Okay, I get this. Like, I got the TikTok, right? Then, I got Facebook first, then it was TikTok. Now I'm working on YouTube. I'm starting to, I'm getting, like, even this week now, I'm going to be at like 2% at least increase in subscribers. And just constantly do things like that. And when you master it, or you outsource it to somebody that knows what to do, okay, now I'll do the next one. And combined, your numbers will start going up.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Am I right in saying that you always try to make it as fun as possible?
You have to, because I think that's why people throw in the towel in the podcasting world. It's like they go, well, this is a time suck. This is annoying me. And it shouldn't be like that. It should be that I'm enjoying this. So when like my very first one, I was using Audacity, and I was taking hours, and then I'd save it, and then I'd upload it, and then I'd play it again to make sure it was okay. And yeah, I'd want podcasts, and I was enjoying it, but I was like, this is taking a lot of time. So then I just constantly changed things and made it better. Like the Adobe for the sound for podcasters, that's brilliant. I mean, that's just a time we done a live one time. There was, I don't know, 5 or 6 of us, and one guy was on his laptop, and I thought, it's a shame. This was a fantastic conversation, but one guy's sound was terrible, and I thought, I can't release it. And when I put it through Adobe, it was perfect, and I was able to put it out. So you start finding software that will actually help you as well, and just constantly trying to improve, and just talking to people and listening to. I mean, there's other people like the Podfather. What I'm doing, there's other show. I mean, I've listened to a few of my. I don't really get that much out of them, but there is other ones that you might maybe resonate, or you can just check, see, is there a certain. And if you start studying it, instead of just winging it, better to learn from somebody that knows what they're doing and have done it, because, like, not just me, but others, they've spent years doing it. Learn from them, that you don't do the mistakes that they've done. You go, wow, I can do this. And if you make it that you're enjoying it, and there's less time to do it, but you get more interviews and you start putting it out, and then you go, oh, I can monetize this. Or if you've got your own, what I say to people is kind of promote your own business, because whether it's coaching, consulting, or you're selling something, mention that or have an ad chucked in. And instead of it costing you money, then you can make money, and eventually you get to a certain size where you can get sponsors. Like I do dynamic ads now, but even it's not. It's like with Podbean, I do that with. It's like $3 per 1,000, but some of them are charging like 30. So now I'm looking now at creating a system where people can sponsor on my thing. I can dynamically insert it, whether at the start or the middle or the end, and they can pay me for that. And that's going to an audience that they want. And I put a lot of my marketing to the States, because more people in the States listen to podcasts and more marketers are there. And that's hence why I actually go, follow the money. So if you want to start making money, you can be strategic about it, and also have affiliates, because I've made, money from affiliates. There was one guy I had on my show. He was talking about how to win in court without a solicitor. And he was charging like $250, but he was paying $50 commission. And I just had the link, and every month there was a sale coming through, and like you might think that's nothing, but that starts paying for Zoom, and it starts paying for StreamYard and all these different things, and eventually you'll find something that kind of resonates. And if you know where the listeners are for a certain product, you can actually get more from that. So there's loads of different ways to monetize, but it's like, just try to find out, okay, what ways can I monetize? See what resonates with you, because not all will work with different podcasts. But you go, okay, this works. Like, for example, a lot of the people that sponsor would be like the likes of fast food, McDonald's and Red Bull. I wouldn't touch them because I'm fighting them. So you have to be ethical as well in what you're doing. But not everyone is like that. Some people, they just, their conversations and talking about health and stuff like that, and it'll be okay to get them in. So find out who the sponsors are, reach out to them and go, hey, I've got such an audience. And what you can do is put some of them dollars into the marketing to increase your numbers, and then you can get more money from it, and just keep building it. And if they're genuine, not fake, not bought numbers, but if you're organically growing it and it keeps, then you can get more money. So there is ways of actually making money for your show.
Amazing. We might have to do round two just on monetization because to me it's really in my mind it's just whether ads or you try to convert the listeners to move to your coaching or your service. But hearing from what you're saying, there are a lot more to explore. So I think we will have to make a round two at some point to get really deeper into this. Um, yeah, Roy, and thanks for coming. It was amazing. I've learned so much, and yeah, thanks for coming on the show, Roy. Really.
No, thank you very much. And as I mentioned, I told you prior to recording, I shared your pre-call with people because what you've done, I've had pre-calls with, I've been maybe a guest on maybe 100 shows, and I've done maybe 20 pre-calls, maybe more. And a lot of even the clients that I have, they complain about how bad a pre-call is. And that's how we can all learn from each other, because I was teaching the people how you done it. And everybody, no matter what level they're at, how long they're podcasting, how many shows they've done, everybody figures out something. And as long as we're all together and sharing it, we can all raise each other up.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad it was. I'm glad it has been helpful. But yeah. Thanks for coming, Roy. Really, thanks.
No, thank you very much for having me. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
And as I mentioned earlier, if you don't see your podcast contribute enough to your business, the way I see it is that I introduce a lead magnet twice throughout every episode. So my system have 4 steps: a call to action mid-episode, another call to action at the end of the episode, an element in the show notes, and a landing page, but slightly different from the classic landing page format. It's a bit hard to make it useful to you right now in just a few words, so I broke down my system in an article, script included. Have a look, the link is in the show notes, and I think it will give you the foundation that you need to start seeing leads coming from your podcast.